Are you gonna punch me in the shoulder? No, right?
Yes. No, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just coordinating snow coverage.
Okay,
I have my,
that's fine.
that is.
Yeah,
Okay,
I won't call you. Okay, I'd like to call this library board meeting to order, December the 10th at 9 a.m. Just as a reminder, library board meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and/or presentation materials will become part of public record. First order of business is the approval of today's agenda. Do I have a mover and seconder to approve today's agenda, please? Moved by Jane, seconded by Patricia. Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? All right, call the question. All in favor? Carried. I'm going to assume there's some frozen screens there, so we'll just continue on like the agenda has been approved. Does anyone have a conflict of interest that they would like to declare at this time? Not seeing any hands. We'll move forward to the previous meeting minutes, which was on November the 12th. Do I have a mover and seconder to adopt those minutes, please? Nick and Patricia. Mover by Nick, seconded by Patricia. All in favor, please. Carried. Okay, up next is the presentations that we have. And today we are lucky enough to have Dr. Tiffany Kittmer in attendance. So, Dr. Kittmer, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you for reading my letter for the last meeting and giving me the opportunity to come here in person and flesh out my proposal. It's always nicer to have some back and forth conversation on these new things. So as Trevor introduced me, I'm Tiffany Kittmer, and I moved to Goderich 10 years ago now. I loved it when I got to go to the library as a kid. I took out a stack of books all the way up to my chin, tilted up like this to maximize my library card. I'm not a little girl anymore, but the library spaces I got to experience in my childhood definitely inspired me to read, learn, and expand my mind. I spent a lot of time in school, and now I'm a surgeon at AMGH. And in the case of this project, more pertinently, also a mother in Huron County, which has given me a whole new perspective on public spaces and appreciation for community building, especially in small towns. Next slide, please. So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the inspiration for the project proposal I have, show some pictures of the current space, talk a bit about the dream, show some examples and ideas of what the space could look like, and then dive into the how. Next slide. So the first picture here is of my grandparents, their 3 sons, my cousin, and me in green there on the left on the swing set that my grandparents lovingly built and painted for us. They both passed away in their late 90s recently and left me with the most amazing memories. They always gave us grandkids 110% of their love and energy, and they made the most magical spaces for us to play in and feel that we were wanted and that we belonged. I was thinking of a way to honor them, and I wanted to do something locally for kids to give them that same feeling. The second picture here is of my daughter, Kira, aged 4. She is in her happy place. That happens to be the Clinton Library branch on the 2nd floor in their children's section. When the weather's bad or she's feeling down, she asks to go there. She's on a colorful rug in front of a children's-sized table that she fits at, and it's in front of the shelving that holds their toy library. You might be able to make out some of the dinosaurs they have out there right now. Might be a bit too small, but the toys are rotated from time to time. There are stacks of books, of course, and not pictured here is an amazingly imaginative mural and some book-related art on the walls. There's also a big cozy chair where a kid or two could fit on a lap for story time, and a magnetic whiteboard with letters and objects to move around, practice math, and so on. Next slide. This is the current space in Goderich. It's lovingly updated with a new scavenger hunt within the shelves regularly. There are featured books on the shelves and sometimes little crafts or handouts to take home for kids. You can see that green square in the back. It's an upright Lego wall. That's our local branch, and we come to it a lot as a family. You can see that the physical space is somewhat simple at this time. My daughter absolutely loves being read to and will often insist on reading a good book we find right away. And I found it tough to do at the Goderich branch. My daughter's a bit of a squirmer, and without a back or a bigger chair, it's sort of hard to do that reading in that space. There are some couches on the opposite end of the floor, but they're in the adult section where the magazines and makerspace are. There's some computers to look things up, and it just seemed awkward to invade that space with my energetic, young, noisy human, especially when you're reading out loud. So I've usually just sat on the floor here. It feels safer and less intrusive, but it's not that comfortable. And so when my grandparents had a little money left over that they sent my way, a dream began to take shape. What if the Goderich branch librarians had a bigger budget to work with? Would the townspeople rally around some work on the children's section? I put out some feelers and people were extremely supportive. Excited, in fact. I have often poked around libraries in new towns, but I started to pay a bit more attention to the children's sections. Now I could start to see the dream take shape. Lots of color, imagination-inspiring art, cozy seating, toys to interest young children while parents peruse for good bedtime story materials. A seating area for little people, just their size, so that they would know that they were wanted and that they belonged. Next slide, please. We could skip that. Next slide. So here are just some pictures to exemplify what the space could have. So there's some kind of seating, some things to move around, some educational toys. That little rainbow crate there is just little cushions that kids can either stack or sit on if you wanted to do a story time or something like that. And then sort of a bigger couch that's got a little bit of room to sit side by side with a young one. The museum in Goderich recently hired an artist for a mural within their facility, and I spoke with the museum curator to get a sense of the cost of that, which is variable depending on the size and complexity of the project, of course, but within a reasonable budget. Next slide, please. Yep. So this is how I envision the project. It's like building a bridge and meeting in the middle. This is actually a picture of the Menacee Bridge in its initial construction 119 years ago. This kind of a project takes collaboration. On the one side, I come offering inspiration, passion, fundraising, and on the other side, to meet in the middle, we need a design plan and the purchasing and installation to be done by the library. We all know that libraries are an invaluable asset to their communities, and I could give you a long list of the benefits of a project like this to our youth, but that would be preaching to the choir. You are all here on the library board because you know this. I see a real opportunity for the Goderich branch to develop its children's section, and I want to help facilitate that so that those who aren't as fortunate as myself, so as to be able to travel readily to another community's library, have access to a similar level of children's infrastructure like the Clinton branch has to offer. And I actually did a little library crawl in North Huron and South Huron spread out over 2 weekends and checked out the children's section in 11 of the 12 branches of your library. I couldn't make it to Kirkton. It just missed the hours. And actually, every children's section has some toys there, except really for the Goderich branch. Brussels has a little train table. It doesn't have to be complicated. Life has a big dragon puppet. Seaforth and Wingham have some foam blocks, some seating. This could be a springboard for other communities to fundraise as well. But actually, when I looked at the other branches, they're pretty good. If this template works here, it could potentially be duplicated elsewhere to kind of enhance the services. But I would say Goderich is kind of lagging behind for that younger children's subset. Now, I know that the library has approached me about adolescents and the youth. I'm more than happy to include that as well. I don't know much about what youth services in libraries would look like, what the wish list is for that, but I think that, next slide, please, for successful fundraising, that's not a problem to add in. It just has to be about the young people, I think, to get people excited and on board. That is what makes it special to the community. A clear vision of the project scope obviously needs to happen and be put together before you can approach people to donate. I think you have to kind of tell people what they're donating to with a little bit of clarity, of course. And then I think donor recognition can be helpful. Sometimes it does lead to more fundraising potential if people know if there's going to be some recognition. For example, if there was a corporate sponsor, they want to know, is there going to be a plaque? Is their name going to be there? Sometimes that influences it. I don't think it's necessary to have a plaque or to have a big donor board or anything. I just think it's good to decide a priori how that is going to happen before a fundraising journey starts. I I had the unique experience of delivering my daughter in the pandemic and learning about the importance of community in a hard way by losing it for a few years. Coming out of that, I'm especially grateful for places like libraries where community is built. And as a working mother, I have very much appreciated the library hours. Those are times that extend a little bit beyond the work day, where families can be in public spaces that don't cost them anything, and access wonderful resources and services. It would be my honor to help you build up the children's section in Goderich, and I'd be happy to take any questions about my proposal.
Okay.
I think next slide. And just for context, that those last little pictures there, that was my daughter at the Napier Library, and then my husband and daughter in Drayton Valley, Alberta. And my sister lives in a similarly sized town, and they just had like a little woodland mushroom forest theme that was cute.
Okay, so obviously a lot of passion here, and I want to thank. Is it okay for me to call you Tiffany?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
all right. I want to thank Tiffany for coming in person. We had this discussion at our last library board meeting. I want to thank Danielle for being here as well from the Goderich branch. Because this, we don't get this opportunity too often since I've been the library board chair, where someone wants to donate and do the work and get other donations, right? So it's something new. But it is very inspiring to have someone come to our board, someone come take the time to tour with Beth and myself at the library and Goderich staff as well, and give some suggestions and do it in a respectful manner as well. And we can see the passion here. She's attended 11
Yeah,
of the 12 branches,
Kirkton.
right? So Kirkton misses out, right? So, and I'm sure Kirkton will receive a visit,
Eventually I'll get there.
eventually, right? So I'll open it up for questions or comments for Tiffany. She is here to answer questions and receive comments, and we'll go from there. Okay. So does any board member have any questions or comments? I can't see everyone on the screen because people are not showing their front faces to me right now. So not sure why, but if you can show yourself on the screen, that would be appreciated. Any questions or comments? Patricia, I can see you. Jane, I can see you.
The here is just something with the system there.
Connectivity, maybe if they raise their, like, do the raise hand.
If you can do the raise hand emoji function, then please, because Lubitsa just told me it's not on you, it's actually on the system itself. So,
You can look at my screen if you would like, Chair.
okay, thank you.
There's Helena.
All right. Is there any questions or comments from the board members?
Maybe while you're thinking
John?
about that.
Okay, yeah,
Cool.
so we have John, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Tiffany. This is just great how you're gonna bring, I think, the library group all together, the different ages, which is very inspiring. And on behalf of the board, thank you. This is just wonderful news.
Thank you, John. Any other questions or comments?
If I may.
Yeah, Tiffany, go ahead.
I just forgot in my presentation to explain a little bit about how I envision the fundraising happening. I remember from the last board meeting, people were wondering about like the cost for, building the fundraising materials. I envision this being a PowerPoint thing, which is literally free, making up slides. I would do that. My husband happens to be a graphic designer, so if we wanted to do a poster, he'll do it pro bono, not a problem. So I anticipate the fundraising cost being zero. If there was some printing, I would cover it. I'm not looking to recoup any costs for those things. And in my experience, everybody I've talked to wants to help out in some way. So I don't anticipate any cost to that.
Okay, so I have Nick with his raised hand. So Nick, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tiffany, excellent presentation. I just wanted to ask, and perhaps Danielle or Beth or somebody from staff might be able to comment on this as well. Do you have a goal in mind of what type of number you actually want to hit for the fundraising?
So I think that needs to come from you guys a little bit more. I told the board I could make it up to 50,000, but I don't think think we really need that much to make it an awesome space. If we get fancy,
You
we
get
could
pretty
probably
creative.
spend that. Yeah.
We want to work together. We get creative.
So I put the number of up to 50 because that's kind of the easy fundraising. You go to all the service clubs, ask them for $1,000 to $5,000 each, add my donation, and we're there. It's really not that hard to get to 50K. More than that, I think would take a lot of work. But in talking to some of the town's longstanding fundraiser experts, they kind of said that was an easy goal to shoot for. And I kind of played around with the budget, and I think in the letter there were some itemized numbers and things, and it wasn't even 50,000 with that. But I kind of said if we start with that as a number in mind and let the librarians dream up a bit of a plan, we'll see kind of what that number actually is and go from there.
Okay. Helena, you have your raised hand.
Yeah. Thank you, Tiffany. This is a very exciting opportunity where we can work together and benefit the children and youth. But when I look at the budget, I'm wondering, there's design and purchasing. There's a lot of staff time involved, which is going to have to be pulled away from other projects, or perhaps we can hire a part-timer or expand the hours that part-time staff work. Have you thought about funding, including that in the budget that you were thinking about? Or were you just thinking of physical items?
Tiffany?
That's really up to you guys as a board. Yeah. So I think that if you wanted to look at this and put a proposal that some of that money would be going towards somebody to design the space, that's fair. If you guys just wanted to put a librarian at a computer for 3 hours to purchase to pick a carpet and to pick some toys, I think it would take an afternoon. Like, I don't think it needs to be a big kind of construction project where we're knocking down a wall or anything. It just needs to be a bit of a floor plan and choosing a couple of items, like doing a little bit of shopping. I don't anticipate it being, a 6-month project where one person is working at that full time, but I'm not a librarian. I don't know exactly how you guys spend your hours. So if you thought that you needed to hire an extra staff for that, I'd be a bit surprised. But pitch it. And I think that if it's reasonable, the fundraising can definitely include that cost if you think it's going to be a significant cost.
I'll refer to Danielle at this time, just for some comments from you as your point of view from a staff member.
Thank
I don't work in the library, so I can't comment, right? So
Yeah, no, thank you. So I would say, like hiring externally, not something that I think we would need to do. I might be curious to see about the opportunity to consult somebody who does design, like actual interior design. I'm on the board for the shelter, and we had somebody who came in and did a presentation about kind of their vision for the space, and I really couldn't get over how wonderfully they were able to say, actually, in this size here, this furniture would be perfect, and they had that vision that came to life. So that might be something if we were looking to bring in external opinions. But at the same time, I would say that it definitely will be longer than just doing the online shopping. And I say that just coming from doing so much work recently for the McCall McBain project. Just looking at what other libraries have and where they're sourced and how their spaces are organized and the research behind what's in the children's department and why, and kind of pricing around comparison shopping, and then pulling all of that together and figuring out how you would move things around in the space and doing a floor plan and thinking all of those pieces through. And with this kind of an opportunity, you're right, it's amazing. And I would want us to be really thoughtful and intentional to make sure that everything that we added, we were really thinking about how does it fit? How is it being stored? How do we make it the most accessible for children to have the best space available? So I think that taking that time and just really doing the research and thinking it over would be kind of a big piece. But that being said, I do envision that that would be something that I would be largely taking on, and I'm considering that in my planning for next year as well with my own workflow, just to ensure that, you know, if we're working on this as a major project on the West team, I'm not maybe stepping into other major projects, just to ensure that you know, the time is going towards this. I want to make sure it gets kind of full attention from myself and my team if we're moving forward.
Okay, so continued collaboration by the
Absolutely.
sounds of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you may be able to get some assistance from the other libraries that do have children's sections, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just trying to replicate some things in the Goderich branch.
Librarians are very collaborative people. So I definitely envision, you know, reaching out and chatting with other larger children's areas and just saying what works for you. You know, how do you have that set up? I was in the large Calgary downtown library, which almost made me want to approach you to try and figure out if we could fundraise to have a big climbing net structure for kids, because they have some cool stuff. But there's amazing ideas out there, and I think we'll be able to, you know, do some research and do something really cool.
Yeah, and I actually think any additions are better than no additions, right? So, but any other questions or comments from board members? Not seeing any hands. Okay. We do want to thank Tiffany once again for being here. A lot of passion, like I said, and I think moving forward, it's future collaboration into the new year. With Danielle and Tiffany just talking together, I think. And then logistics, right? So I think providing the board with an update on next steps. The motion is to receive the presentation as presented for information right now. But I think it's continued to collaborate with Tiffany and see what we can get done here at the Goderich branch and other branches for that matter down the road, right? So do I have a mover and seconder for that motion to receive for information? Moved by Warden Heffer, seconded by Helena. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah. You can leave or you can stay. It's up to you. Yeah.
I'll stay then.
Yeah. Because there is, you know, if you enjoy the library, the meetings are open to the public. So and I think you enjoy libraries by the sounds of it.
I
Right?
do. The library calls great.
Okay. There you go. All right. So up next is the East team update. And we have Krista. Is Krista online?
Not yet, but.
Okay.
Hi. Is everything good to go?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are good, Krista. So, good morning. How are you?
I am well. Well, I have been better. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so I've got everything ready just in case.
Okay, perfect. Well, the floor is yours, Krista, to share your presentation with the board.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm Krista Lennon, and I manage both the Brussels and Seaforth branches, and that is the East team. So first off, I guess I can't advance my own slides. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yes, you have approval yet?
Okay. Oh, it went. Maybe there's a lag. Anyway, this is the East team, and it's made up of 4 part-time branch assistants. Monique
Okay, so
Band.
just 1 second. Is your screen, is it sharing on your end, Livita?
No, I'm not sharing.
Your screen stopped sharing, Krista.
Okay.
Something is happening with the.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the heavy snow.
It's the heavy snow.
So if I go into Zoom, am I to share it or?
You can share it, Krista.
Okay, so if I go back to the Zoom and I share a screen, is that? I haven't done this for a while.
See it. Yes.
Yeah, it was up there, Krista.
That was me.
Oh, that was it.
Oh,
Why don't we just have Lubisa share your presentation? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, but whatever works.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
was ready. I was ready.
Okay, we got her on in front of us here now, Krista. So by all means, go
Okay.
ahead.
Is this, so can I advance slides or should I?
I will do it. No, you
Oh.
can tell me when to advance.
Okay, thank you for sorting through that. I don't see my presentation.
Okay, so right now it's just the cover sheet that you have, which says East Team, Brussels and Seaforth branches. So if you just want to say next slide, then Lubisa will go to the next slide. So right now we have your team photo in front of us.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start over. So the East Team is made up of 4 part-time branch assistants, Monique Ban, Jeanette Finnegan, Megan Foxton, and Beth McDonald. And photo credit for this goes to Jim Seal, who was out for a cricket training. We also have 2 student pages, and I am a full-time branch manager. Next slide, please. So the last time I presented, we were just coming out of COVID and we were establishing a foundation. So I'll just review what that foundation is, and then I'll go on to the more exciting things that we've been working on over and above that. So most of our time is spent managing the collection and working with the collection. So that's checking books in, checking books out, finding the information and the entertainment that people are wanting, as well as maintaining the collection through reading and suggestions. We also started a foundation for programming. We established monthly passive themed activities. We work with Jim Seal for the countywide programs. So programs surrounding Pride and Truth and Reconciliation, and then of course the traditional library programs like book clubs. We also worked on our community information and in our hub, as well as developed outreach and partnerships. Next slide, please. Also part of the foundation was establishing some fundraising. So we have a book sale cart in both branches, and we host book sales once a year as well. And we've received some nice donations from the community. And this all helps us to do the following. Next slide, please. It helps fund activities like the Barrio Magic Show at March break. It helps us with fund program materials and prizes. Next slide, please. So with that money, we've been able to host Lego challenges. And on the left, we have a terrarium that a young community member made in a trash theater workshop, which she was very proud of. So that's how the fundraising dollars are used. Next slide, please. Part of the base programming is our monthly themed activities. So we always have a scavenger hunt, a make and take craft on the table, coloring pages and activity sheets. And this month it's snow is the theme. And this is one of our winners. He's got a stomp rocket and it drives monthly visits to the library. Next slide, please. We also established partnerships, and these are long-standing partnerships, but we re-engaged after COVID with both Brussels and Seaforth Ag Societies. And this is a young community member crafting his entry into the fair, and the Seaforth Fair Ambassador supporting his work. Next slide, please. Another partnership is early on. There are not early on centers in either Brussels or Seaforth, so the library acts as that space for gathering. In Seaforth, we have weekly baby time program, and in Brussels, we have a play and learn that meet weekly, but we also host pop-up activities for early on. Next slide, please. Part of traditional programming is book clubs. So both Seaforth and Brussels branch libraries have library-led book clubs, and we have one new community-led book club that takes place at the Seaforth branch. Next slide, please. We also work to establish the library as a community hub, and we do that through attending meetings, building our community information, working on partnerships and outreach. And so the next slide sort of outline how this what a community hub is. One of the initiatives that we worked on was welcome bags. So these bags are available to people new to the community, and it hosts a whole bunch of information, community information, to help people get established in the community. And people who receive these bags are thrilled with them. We go in both communities, we hand out about 25 a year. Next slide, please. We also act as backbone support for the Brussels Community Alliance and the Seaforth and Area Network Group. So we share agendas and take notes at these meetings, and we share the notes with the group. What this does is it helps us keep current with the community information so that we are able to support connections. The other thing it does is it provides a network opportunity for those community groups and organizations. And thirdly, we have outside of the community organizations come to present. So when we were noticing a rise in homelessness or a presence in the community, Aaron Schooley from Huron Housing and Homeless came to make a presentation to this group to help us better understand what was happening, share some information about homelessness and the projects that they were working on, and potentially how we could support the projects that were happening. We also had the local immigration partnership present to this group, and they shared information about new to Canada Canadians in Huron East, and ways that we as community groups and organizations could support newcomers in a welcoming way. Next slide, please. So this is the Brussels Meet Your Neighbor Night, an annual event in partnership with the local immigration partnership, and it's different services, community groups, and organizations, as well as community members just wanted to know more about the community, and new members to the community are invited, and everyone shares how they arrived in the community, a little story, and or what they do in the community if they're representing an organization. Next slide, please. This is the Seaforth Meet Your Neighbor Night. We also host Seaforth Meet Your Neighbor Night. And after we do the sharing, everyone breaks and there's a mix and mingle so that people are able to connect with something that piqued their interest. Next slide, please. We have all kinds of partnerships. Some are very small and some are larger. So just an example, the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, we have the Giving Tree here, and people can bring in gifts for Christmas, or larger partnerships like with the Tanner Steffler Foundation, which we're partnering with programming monthly. Next slide, please. We also attend outreach events, so Seaforth Summerfest, Seaforth Homecoming. We attend the Calling All 3-Year-Old events in the public schools and Catholic school as well, and attend the Santa Claus parades and Literacy Night at the Seaforth Public School. This is Bob meeting the homecoming mascot, and Bob also meeting a new community member. We always take a fun activity with us, and below we have the button maker and Bob in the background. Next slide, please. And here's the parade crew heading out to wave and celebrate the season. Next slide, please. So that sort of lays the foundation of what we do as a base. In 2024-2025, we were able to add a few extras to our usual work. So next slide, please. The first was the development of a glassroom program space at the Seaforth Branch Library. So with McCall McBain funding and library funding, we were able to create this program space. And on the left is our mock-up, and there's the final product. Next slide, please. In the summer of 2025, with the municipality funding and support, we were able to get a refresh of the main floor of the Seaforth branch. So this meant, of course, taking everything off floor and moving it upstairs so that work can be done. Next slide, please. So it couldn't have been done without the support of the admin team. So the admin team, so Richard, Katie, Jenny, and Jasmine came out and helped us with this work. The building was closed for 2 days, and we offered curbside service during that time. But once we reopened, library service was upstairs for 6 weeks. Next slide, please. So this is, I have to have a drink, sorry. Or excuse me. This is the completed refresh upstairs. So the adult collection moved upstairs. And despite adding the adult collection, people say it's still airy and open, and they enjoy the heritage space of the Carnegie Library. Through this change, we were able to add an additional service point. So that on the left, lower left, is a desk, and it helps with supervision of the space. And it also has increased our ability to serve. So we have more readers advisory. We're available to answer questions and connect with patrons. Next slide, please. So the downstairs refresh, it was a race to homecoming. So we had the glass room, and then in the middle, you see that we opened up the space. So we have additional seating, and we have another additional table. We moved a large table from upstairs downstairs, and we were able to make it. So with a big push, we made it to homecoming. And on the right are some past library staff from Seaforth branch that came back to help us celebrate our shared library history. Next slide, please. So this is how the glass room is being used now. We have people after school drop-ins, playing with the Switch. Men's morning coffee meet weekly in the space. Next slide, please. With the glass room, so we've seen a development of new community-led programs. So Men's Morning Coffee, of course, meets weekly. We have a knitting crochet group that meets weekly. We have a Seaforth community-led book club that meets monthly in the space, and we hosted a beginner bridge workshop. So community members are coming and looking to offer opportunities in this space. So it's a great addition to the library. Next slide, please. So with the space changes, or part of it was moving the Huron, Ontario Genealogical Society collection to the Seaforth branch. It was in the cabin in Goderich, so it was taken to admin, recatalogued and organized, and then delivered to the Seaforth branch. So this is the whole collection. There's family histories A to Z, so you may find your family history here, and the work may be done for you. You should come in and have a look. We also have local history books and resources for different geographical areas, including Ontario, Huron, and local municipalities. OGS maintains a connection to this collection by offering research support. So you can always email or we can telephone, and they'll come out and help community members with the research. We also have partnered in upcoming programs. They're offering a beginner genealogy workshop in the new year, as well as a scan party. So people can bring in their old photos, have them scanned, and take them home on a USB stick. Next slide, please. When we moved back downstairs, we never really found we were missing some key pieces of furniture. And we also found behind the walls some roughed-in plumbing. And the municipality, their plumber came out and confirmed that the plumbing was viable. So with some extra funding that we had or saved, we were able to design a kitchenette. So for the first time in, I would say since the 80s, I'll have to check that, we will have running water in the branch, and we're super excited about this. Next slide, please. We were also worked to develop a home library service. So this provides access to library materials if you are homebound. So in Brussels, Megan delivers to 3 community members in the Highland Apartments Independent Living Facility, and here in Lee, the long-term care facility. She brings a box of exchange material. In Seaforth, we have delivery to 3 community members' homes and to 1 community member in a long-term care facility. And this is our volunteer exchanging books with one of our community members who receives the service. Next slide, please. Brussels has done an amazing job. Megan offers an amazing tour and orientation to the library, and these have become popular and annual visits. So the cadets have come, the Girl Guides, the Old Mennonite School, Colony Mennonite School has come, and we also have a partnership with the Huron East Day Camp. Next slide, please. This is the Huron East Day Campers at the Brussels branch. So on the right, they come once a week through the summer. And on the right, they're doing the scavenger hunt. And on the left, they're playing with some of the passive activities in the branch. Next slide, please. So with McCall McBain funding, we were also able to offer some teen programming. We offered in Brussels and Seaforth after hours Nerf battle, which were a hit. The kids had a ball running freely through the library. We also offered karaoke in Seaforth and virtual reality drop-in. The Switch remains popular and gets used daily. We had a tween D&D camp for 4 days in the afternoons. Danica led this, and it was full. So the program filled quickly and was very popular. With Tanner Steffler and a community member, Killian Sharp, as Dungeon Master, we offer a teen D&D session monthly. That's for the 12 to 18-year-olds, and also a young adult session, 19 to 29. And both these programs have been very popular. We hosted Mario Kart tournaments in both branches, and in Seaforth, we always have maker kits. So that's spirograph, bracelet making, the button maker kit. So there's passive activities that would appeal to teens if they're dropping into the branch. Next slide, please. So our future plans are to continue to develop their teen space and programs with McCall McBain funding, complete our office refresh so that everything has a place and we improve our workflow, and also to listen to the community direction and to see what they would have us do. Next slide, please. Brings us to questions. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it. And thank you.
Yeah. I'm just going to refer to Beth for a comment before I go to board members.
I just wanted to clarify, and I'm sure board members maybe made an assumption, but the branch has had running water. It's just the facilities for staff to have an actual sink to support programming and not having to use a sink, say, in the washroom. Just wanted to make sure that was clear for everybody.
That is a good clarification. Thank you, Beth.
I
Right?
didn't even think of that.
Yeah, and thank you, Christopher. Yeah, very informative presentation to the board. And you know, it's every meeting that I sit in, I'm learning something new about what the other branches are doing, not just the branch in the town that I live in, right? So a lot of great things happening in those branches that you work in, and kudos to your team as well. I will open it up to questions. I do have a question myself. You mentioned the men's morning coffee. Is that where all the world's problems get solved, Krista?
They sure do. Every week. It's a great think tank.
Yeah, I bet it is.
It's a community information exchange.
Yes, I bet. It's just like our Goderich McDonald's here in town. If I go into that restaurant in the morning for a coffee, I usually am not leaving for another hour, right? So, any questions or comments from the board members for Krista regarding her presentation? Okay, that means the presentation. Oh, no, we got Patricia. All right,
Yeah.
Patricia.
Sorry, I'll be fast. Thanks for the presentation, Krista. I think the part that fascinated me the most was the home visits. I've known that the library does that. But I was just curious, how do folks find out about the home visits? Like, is it advertised widely or is it just a knowledge you have because you work at the nursing home or something like that? Thanks.
It was a soft launch. We noticed patrons that could use a little, yeah, people have identified themselves. So they've asked if we can run books over. And they're usually neighbors. And then it develops into, an exchange that happens. And we just formalized it. So we made it into a program. So it was a program that already existed. It wasn't really advertised. People come to us, and I'm sure it'll trickle out and people will come to know it, but it is not advertised. That helps us maintain, keep within our capacity.
All right, thank you.
Great. Yeah, great question, Patricia. Any other questions or comments from board members? Yes, Jane, please.
I've been having a bit of trouble. People freeze. I can see them, and then they appear to be talking. I would suggest this is going to be true of every library board presentation we get from all of the teams, is even going through the slides and what they officially offer doesn't really capture what a library offers day in and day out. And I don't know how you would ever describe a typical day in the library at any of our 12 branches.
Yeah, it's well said. I'm just like even seeing the pictures for me not being in any of those branches. We just had a presentation regarding children's spaces, and some of the photos that you provided there with the mats and stuff like that, and the scavenger hunt. It's a nice little combo between the two presentations that we've had this morning. So, yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right, I will look to move to the recommended motion, which is the Huron County Library Board accepts the report as presented for information. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Alina, seconded by John. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, up next is board member comments. Do any board members have any comments at this time? Not seeing any hands, so we will move to item 7, which is reports from library staff. And the first one on the agenda is potential fundraising campaign. Beth Rumble, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'll provide a few high-level comments, and thanks to both Danielle and Jenny, who captured some of the staff involvement pieces that may be involved with a fundraising campaign. That this is just to help clarify what some of those pieces may look like. It's a little bit different than just accepting a single donation to go into that fundraising campaign piece. So we've tried our best to kind of outline what that may look like. And I know the request initially came just to branch staff, but I did want to make sure that we included administrative staff as well, because they will play a significant role in a fundraising project. So that is outlined in the report as well. The estimations in phase 1 are a little bit more vague, because that is where we would be entering into newer territory in a project that we haven't done before. To one of the earlier questions, there certainly is, and we've worked with library vendors in the past when we can provide them with a ballpark budget and some ideas of this is what we're hearing the community needs, and they can provide some of those planning services for us. So again, we could build that into what that initial proposal would look like. And then the phase 2 estimates are based on some of those recent projects, like the Clinton main floor, new shelving, new carpet paint project. And then, as you saw in Krista's presentation, the East Team carpet project, flipping the branch, that we have a good idea of what kind of staff time is needed to make those kinds of changes to a branch. So that is also outlined in the report for you folks to review. And both Jenny and Danielle are here to answer any questions that board members may have.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Any questions for anyone here? No, not seeing any hands. Okay, so we'll move to the recommended motion, which Huron County Library Board accepts the report as presented for information. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Jane, seconded by Nick. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Number 2 on the item is Federation of Ontario Public Library Strategic Plan, presented by Beth Remble, please.
Thank you. This is through you, Mr. Chair. This is just being shared for library board members' information to ensure that they are aware of what we call FOPL, what direction they are going in the coming years. They are the primary advocacy organization for Ontario libraries. And one example just of some of the work that FOPL does is there was recently some proposed changes to a bill that could impact the library book rate, which we use for our interlibrary loans. So very quickly, a draft letter was pulled together that we could send to our local MP to advocate on the importance of that to the library. It turns out that that isn't an imminent concern for us, but it's still helpful to have those draft letters prepared for us. And that's just one piece of the work that FOPL does.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Any questions for Beth? Helena?
Yeah, what is our commitment to FOPL?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. We do pay a membership fee based on the population that we serve, so that is included in our annual budget. Aside from that, we receive the benefits of membership, whether it's news information. There are some data dashboards that we have access to, some training opportunities as well that are available. But strictly the only thing they are looking from us essentially is our annual financial commitment.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, not seeing any. I'll look to the recommended motion that Huron County Library Board accepts the report as presented for information. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Helena, seconded by Patricia. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Up next is the monthly update, October 2025, presented by Jenny. Is Jenny online?
I am here.
Okay,
Hi.
thank you.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the report is here for you to read through. A couple of things that I would like to highlight are the top one, some of the quotes from programs that happened in the branches. One of them you saw last month when Danielle presented the very successful library card business promotion for Canadian Public Library Month. And another one is the Mending 101 at the Clinton branch. That is something Clinton has been trying a few different programs to see what sort of is hitting for the community. And it seems that the Mending 101 is one that's going to stick. It's really resounding with people. And they're currently working. We've had a few sewing machines being stored at admin. And I think they are going to be put into use at the Clinton branch for right now with this Mending 101 program, bringing those back to life a little bit. Another one I'd like to point out, you saw there's a variety of Halloween programs that happened in the branches. The one at the Alice Munro Public Library really helped to fill a gap. There wasn't anything else that was happening in town. Their regular Halloween program wasn't being offered in the community. And so this was a youth-led initiative. The student page had an idea for creating a haunted house in the library, bringing people into that. And it was really fun. There have been a few ways at the branches where staff have been letting either the pages or some of the youth that have begun to come into the branches, starting to get them to lead some of the programming that they would like to see or that they would like to help provide, which is really a cool way to marry that that youth component in our strategic plan and giving them a bit of civic leadership experience as well as they're starting to do those programs. And the last thing I'd like to note is Under the communications section, you'll notice that Amy has begun to provide info from each of the teams, what those communication team reps, what each of the teams are highlighting. Something that we used to provide were sort of the top 3 posts on social media. That is becoming trickier statistically for Amy to get. And we thought this helps provide a bit more of a well-rounded glimpse at what each of the teams is focusing on when they're doing their social media promotions.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jenny. Any questions or comments for Jenny? Not seeing any hands, so we'll move to the recommended motion, which is Huron County Library Board receives the report as presented for information. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by John, seconded by Nick. Okay, call to question. All in favor? Thank you. Up next is library action plans. Beth Rumble, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So these are presented to the library board, one as a way of a summary of the progress on the actions that we had laid out that we would do in 2025, and the second outlining what our intentions and plans are for 2026. And this really takes the what of the strategic plan and outlines how we're going to get there through our operational actions. You can see in the 2026 plans, I won't go through it at all. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end. But the one thing I do want to highlight is in our 2026 action plan, obviously we have a lot of strategic goals and we can't actively make progress on all of those every year. So we are placing a focus in 2026 on our communications strategic priority and our youth strategic priority. So you'll see that both in the action plan and over the course of the year is that where library staff are placing emphasis on what activities they are choosing to pursue.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Any questions for Beth regarding the action plans? Helena, please.
Yes, I was very impressed that the detail of the action plans and also the flexibility to change, for example, to the computer gaming system, which is very important that you're not cast in stone. But I also notice in the next action plan that there's looking at program evaluation. And in the monthly report, there was a huge variation in participation in programs. Now, some of that is variation in communities, but it would be good to know which programs are most effective. So I'm very glad to see that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for those comments, Helena. Warden Heffer, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on the second plan, under goal number 2, it said adding meeting pods to branches with needs. Just asking if somebody could explain that a little more to me, what a meeting pod is and what would demonstrate a need for that.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So absolutely, we're taking this as a staged approach, and next year we'll be looking at the feasibility of what adding that is. And what that is particularly for our branches that don't have a separate meeting space, that we are finding some competing demands from service providers who are trying to have meetings that sometimes are of a confidential nature with some of their clients. And the library is a great meeting space to do that because of our open hours. But investigating what those privacy needs are, these meeting pods obviously take up valuable square footage as well. So determining if there is in fact space for one of those within our branch, where it would go, what the costs are. There's a few companies that, well, we've had conversations with one company, but there's a few companies that would provide this service, determining what the cost would be and where the funds to support that cost would come from. Other libraries have been able to partner with some of those service providers to share the cost of those. That may or may not be the case here. So 2026 is really looking at what are the needs, what are the costs, what's feasible and needed in Huron County.
I really appreciate that. That helps me. So it's really just identifying a specific space for the areas or libraries that don't have that, and making a specific space available to be used as needed like that. So that's great. Appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you, Warden Heffer. Any other questions from board members or comments? Not seeing any hands. Okay, so we'll go to the motion that Huron County Library Board receives this information as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Helena, seconded by Warden Heffer. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Up next is the draft 2026, and that sounds weird to say 2026, but it's just around the corner. Huron County Library budget. Beth Rumble, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I will be reviewing the draft budget that's included in your agenda package. Just as a reminder for board member information, I'll be going through in detail today and happy to answer any initial questions that you have. And then the budget will come back at our January board meeting. And at that point, we would be looking ideally for final approval. But if there are further questions from board members at that point, happy to take those at that point as well. The budget for 2026 does reflect key strategic priorities as outlined in the strategic plan, and specifically some of the strategic goals that we are focusing on in this budget are recognizing the unique needs of individuals and groups in the community, facilitating a culture where ideas are welcome and shared, ensuring that the community is aware of the full complement of library services, refining tools to ensure effective methods for acquiring feedback from the community, ongoing efforts to engage with and develop spaces for youth, and there's staff training pieces built in throughout all of that as well. You will have seen some of the key actions in the action plan that was part of the previous report for you, but just to reflect some of the key projects that are reflected in the budget include investigating and then later in the year pursuing a dementia-friendly designation, completing a comprehensive space audit of the Hensel branch to inform space upgrades to happen in 2027, adding sensory items and collections and spaces to several of our branches, interior and exterior signage updates at select branches, transitioning from MailChimp to PatronPoint, which is a marketing automation system that would be acquired through a group consortium purchase, a digital promotion pilot in our town branches. In 2026, our Libraries Transforming Communities work will focus on conversations with youth. And also in 2026, we have stage 3, which is our final year of McCall-McBain funding. So our youth engagement work is focused on adding furniture or more furniture to our youth spaces, continuing with facilitation of programs and snacks to go along with that, ongoing programming for youth, and conversations with youth to learn from them and build relationships. We do have some funds that were previously raised in a previous budget for booking and print management software that will be used to roll out a printing app in 2026. And we do also have maintaining health and safety of staff and the public in our spaces as a key element throughout all of our budget items. Specifically looking at the budget with respect to capital, key capital items are supporting space refreshes, health and safety, computer replacement, and our materials budget. In our materials budget, that includes print, our e-titles that have a perpetual license, as well as our object library. Materials that don't have an expected life of longer than 5 years are included in our operational budget. And so that includes things like magazines, metered ebooks, etc. A lot of the McCall-McBain work is reflected in the capital budget, specifically the furniture that we would be purchasing. And further furniture replacement pieces occurring in 2026 as per the budget are a new book drop for the Kirkton branch, televisions for the digital promotions in the town branches, various tables and chairs, security cameras for a couple of the branches, and a Lego and train table that's supported through team fundraising. Our computer replacement costs in 2026 in capital are minimal, largely as a result of the IT fleet model, where costs for new computers are spread over the 4-year period and included in our operational budget. But new computer replacement costs for 2026 include replacement hotspots, replacement robotics kits, replacement projector, and some accessible keyboards for the branches as well. There is a note in the capital budget, but unfortunately, we did very recently learn that our grant application to support expanding some of our technology offerings, the Crickets, the VR headsets, was not successful. So that project will not be moving forward in the new year and will be removed from the budget that you see in January. And I mentioned the Hensel refresh earlier, and we are now splitting those funds over 2 years. So raising half in the initial year and the second half in the following year, to spread those costs, but also to provide us with the necessary time to evaluate what the needs of that refresh are and then implementing those changes to the branch. So the actual refresh for the Hensel branch will happen primarily in 2027. And then new to the capital budget in 2026 are funds that we're raising for shelving to support the asset management plan. So we'll be raising funds annually over a number of years and placing those into a reserve until such a time that we have sufficient funds to complete a shelving refresh at one of our branches. Looking at revenue for the library, that includes our public library operating grant from the province, anticipated student grant funding, funds from Perth South for our contract services provided there, donations, cost recovery fees, and funds for the McCall-McBain projects. With respect to our expenses, last year I did go through the accounts in more detail just to assist some of our new board members with understanding some of the costs in the library budget. This year I'm going to focus more on specific items where there's notable changes. But again, if anyone has questions or requires clarity, please don't hesitate to ask. Specifically with staff wages, not a lot of changes there. The 2-year part-time contract position to advance youth engagement work is included, and that's fully funded through McCall-McBain. Otherwise, we are hopeful that a Reach for Success placement will occur in 2026 that will support library projects and also a local youth in building their skills. This was included in our 2025 budget, but we just didn't have a match between a youth and a branch in that year. And you will see slight adjustments in the staffing budget when that comes back to the board in January. Council did have a conversation in closed session regarding the cost of living allowance. So that will be reflected in the January budget that you see. Some of the pressures that we're seeing in our operational budgets are in areas that are just due to inflation or other cost pressures, such as our audit insurance costs, as well as gas, which is affecting our vehicle costs, and phone charges that we also have no control over, the telecommunications companies increasing those contracts. There is one piece that was missed in this budget that will be included in the January budget. That's intra-county purchases. That's an additional $7,400 that accounts for the funds that we pay to the county for services from corporate, so treasury, HR, and the like. The increase that we see in the maintenance contracts budget line is driven primarily by the addition of the Patron Point marketing automation system. That will be slightly offset by the elimination of MailChimp. The cost for MailChimp is reflected in the promotional budget line of the budget that you see. There is an increase in our electronic resources. This is primarily due to an additional $5,000 that we're budgeting for metered ebooks, e-audio. But we are offsetting that in our revenue lines through a refund that we received from the Library Services Center when they went out of business in 2023. And lastly, our program supplies and costs budget line, the majority of those costs are covered through fundraising. In 2026, it does include $3,000 in prizes for the short story contest. The library now administers this. It was previously part of the Alice Munro Festival of the Short Story, but as that is no longer, the library took on that project. And it's anticipated that the entry costs that are received for that contest will primarily cover the cost for the prizes associated. I do want to make sure we note that we are always working collaboratively with other agencies and organizations to increase our capacity. And that's been instrumental in working with youth as well as newcomers in the way that we can achieve successful outcomes for both the library and those partner organizations. So we are working together to make sure we are furthering both our priorities as well as our partner organizations in the most efficient way possible through our budget. I will leave my remarks at that and happy to respond to any questions any members may have.
Any questions or comments for Beth? Patricia, please.
I'm sorry, it's not a question or comment. I have a meeting that started at 10, another one. So I'm going to have to unfortunately bow out. I did want to hear about the budget before I went. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thanks, Patricia. You're late for your next meeting, so
yes,
you better
I'm
go.
very late. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah. Any questions or comments from other board members? Nick first, and then Helena will go next.
Just a small comment from earlier on. Did I understand correctly that the McCall-McBain Foundation, there's like the the funding will end in 2026, or am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. So when they provided us with the initial funds, it was spread out over 3 years. So we will be receiving the last installment just before the end of this year to be used in 2026. Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Alina.
Yeah, two things. That will going ahead with the Goderich project affect the budget, or will that be totally covered by fundraising? And
Through the chair. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Helena.
Yeah. My other question is about as we replace electronic equipment, presumably some of it is still usable. And so what is the fate of the equipment that is replaced?
Okay. Beth, please.
Through the chair, firstly, to respond to your question regarding the potential Goderich project, at this point, we are not anticipating any budget impacts in 2026. There may be planning that has to occur that would use staff time, but no actual costs that would hit the budget in 2026. With respect to the replacement of some of our electronic equipment, some of it truly is at end of life and isn't functioning. And then other pieces, the Business Technology Solutions Department does have specific protocols about what we do with equipment after a certain amount of time. A lot of it comes down to privacy and information control and that kind of thing.
Okay. A follow-up to that, Alina, or is that good for you?
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members? Not seeing any hands, so I'll move to the recommended motion that Huron County Library budget as presented for information, and further that the 2026 budget be brought forward to the January Library Board meeting for approval. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Nick, seconded by Jane. Okay. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Policy review, there is nothing. Correspondence, there are none. Financial statements are there for everyone to look at. Any questions regarding the financial statements ending October 31st, 2025? Not seeing any hands, so recommended motion is Library Board receives the financial statements for the month ending October 31st, 2025 as presented for information. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by John, seconded by Helena. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. There is no close to the public session. Next meeting is going to be January the 14th, 2026 at 9 a.m. So we're looking at the new year now. And with saying that, we're coming close to the adjournment, but I just wanted to say, to all the board members, thanks for your passion, your dedication to the library board. Thanks for your attendance as well, whether it's online or in person. And personally, I'd like to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all the best with your New Year's celebrations. Be safe, and hopefully you get to spend some time with some loved ones. And if you have the financial means, always consider donating to the people that might be alone at Christmas or in need of maybe one gift to unwrap during Christmas Day. So, in saying that, we'll look to adjourn the meeting at 10:13 a.m., which is pretty good, folks. Look at Warden Heffer. He's got his hand up right away. So we got a mover and Warden Heffer. Who's going to second? Nick's going to second that very delicately, Nick. You weren't as aggressive as Warden Heffer. All in favor? Carried. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone.